Across cities and cultures, graffiti has always existed. Some see it as a form of art, others see it as criminal damage. But around the world, countries are cracking down, and in some places, the punishments are far more severe than you'd expect. In this video, we're going to explore the harshest graffiti laws in the world, from caning in Singapore to long prison sentences. Let's start with what is widely considered the strictest country in the world when it comes to graffiti, and that is Singapore. Under the Vandalism Act of 1966, graffiti is not just a petty crime, it's a serious offence. If you do graffiti on any property, public or private, without permission, you can be arrested and charged immediately. The penalties are actually pretty harsh and unforgiving. You could face a simple fine of up to 2,000 Singaporean dollars, up to 3 years in prison, and yes, corporal punishment, in the form of 3 to 8 strokes of the cane. That's right, caning, an extremely painful punishment that leaves permanent scars, both physically and mentally. Two infamous cases put Singapore's graffiti laws on the world stage. In 1994, an American teenager, Michael Fay, was convicted of spray painting cars and stealing road signs. He was sentenced to 4 months in prison, a fine, and 6 strokes of the cane, later reduced to 4 after intervention from the US government, which I feel like that wouldn't have made much difference. Then in 2010, a Swiss national named Oliver Fricker broke into a train depot and tagged 2 carriages. He was sentenced to 7 months in prison and 3 strokes of the cane. In Singapore, even first-time offenders using spray paint can't avoid caning. It's the law. And it feels like these days a lot of places don't have corporal punishment anymore. So the fact that if you're caught doing graffiti in Singapore, you'll get the cane. Next up, we move on to the UAE, where graffiti is also treated as a pretty serious crime. In cities like Dubai, doing graffiti can result in hefty fines, months in jail, and even passport confiscation for foreign nationals. That just kind of shows you how seriously the UAE takes public cleanliness and order. There are no grey areas. Graffiti here is simply not tolerated. In Malaysia, graffiti can also lead to caning, just like Singapore. In 2012, a pair of Swiss nationals were arrested for tagging a train. They were sentenced to 5 months in jail and 3 strokes of the cane. In some Malaysian states, local laws allow caning even for juveniles. That means teenagers caught doing graffiti can legally be whipped by a cane as part of their sentence. Heading over to the United States, where the laws vary by state. But graffiti can still carry a pretty major consequence depending on how much you do. Like in California alone, if the damage is less than $400 US, it's usually treated as a misdemeanor, with fines, community service, and up to 6 months in county jail. But if the damage exceeds 400, you could be charged with a felony, which can result in a year or more in prison. In New York City, graffiti that causes over 1,500 in damage can be charged as a Class D felony, which carries up to 7 years imprisonment. But in cities like Detroit, major graffiti charges can bring up to 5 years in prison, depending on how much damage is caused and whether the property is public infrastructure. So while US punishments may not include caning, the criminal justice system can still be extremely harsh, especially if you're considered a repeat offender. If you get done doing graffiti in America, the stretch could be very variable. In the UK, graffiti is considered criminal damage under the Anti-Social Behaviour Act of 2003. If the damage is valued over £5,000, the offender can be fined up to £2,500 or imprisoned for up to 3 months. But of course, if the damage exceeds £5,000, the sentence can go up to 10 years in prison. And that's not just a threat, that seems to be a real outcome. Like in 2008, a young man named Tom actually unalived in prison after being sentenced to 20 months for graffiti-related offences. His case sparked a major debate about whether the UK justice system was going too far. In Germany, graffiti is treated as property damage, and penalties can include fines based on the surface area damaged, and even prison time, especially if public property or transit is involved. In the Netherlands, cities like Amsterdam have dedicated legal zones for graffiti, but outside those areas, unauthorized graffiti is still considered serious criminal damage and can lead to prosecution and large fines. Heading over to Italy, graffiti laws are particularly strict strict around historical landmarks. If you're caught vandalizing cultural heritage, like ancient buildings, statues, or monuments, that's when they'll get onto you. Try sending you to prison, or ultimately make you pay for the damage. In 2023, a tourist was arrested for writing his name on the historical Colosseum in Rome. The backlash was massive, and the Italian lawmakers called for even harsher sentences for defacing history monuments. In Spain, graffiti laws actually vary by region. While artistic freedom is somewhat protected there, unauthorized graffiti is still illegal, especially on government buildings or protected architecture. So the bottom line is, graffiti might be seen as an art form, but in many countries it's also treated as a serious crime, sometimes with life-changing consequences. Though if you do get done for graffiti in any place ever, regardless of the country and the laws, I feel like any third world country is the place where they would actually give you any physical harm, other than of course Singapore with the caning and stuff like that. You would have to do a lot of graffiti, a lot of damage to actually get a long prison sentence in some of these countries. And some places might claim to be very against illegal graffiti, but if you find out what the vibe actually is, you could be fine. For example, some people travel to Bali or Thailand. Obviously graffiti's illegal there, but if you pick your spots and if a cop does see you, you can just pay them off kind of thing. So it's like, you know, they're definitely not strict. It goes without saying, an honorable mention would be obviously North Korea. You can't really do anything in North Korea, let alone doing graffiti. Hell, I'm pretty sure it's pretty hard to even get over there as a tourist. The government able to take strict control over everything. That just kind of gives you an example of how strict everything would be there. To even get a graffiti implement like spray paint or a marker over there probably would be pretty hard to do, let alone actually do graffiti there. That should put it in perspective. There's no human rights there. A Quora user actually mentioned something like this. Graffiti, I would expect, is illegal in North Korea. We were driving over the province down to the DMZ and into the mountains. Not once did we see any graffiti. And that was going from one end of North Korea to the other. No signs of graffiti in the traditional sense, no street art, nothing. So if there's any graffiti writers out there that do plan to go to Singapore or North Korea or Dubai or any of those places, just keep in mind that you might get your hand cut off if you try to do graffiti there. If you made it to the end of this video, leave a little comment saying, wow, what the hell? Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. Have a good one. Shout out to all my Patreon members and my YouTube membership members. Nini I, Spookify, Yurifan, Cooper, STVNSF, Sato is Love, Lord_Yurifan, Martin, Crazy, and Jack M. I really appreciate the added support. Thank you guys. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell, auntie? TSV is an Australian-based online store specialising in graffiti supplies. Their mission is to provide high-quality graffiti supplies for an affordable price, catering to artists both locally and globally. Use the discount code Youfo for 15% off your entire order. TheSprayVandalz.com.